In this video, I am going to go over nut butters, spreads, and jams and how I personally choose them or how we would actually like to choose them so that we don't completely deprive from them, but also we actually harvest benefits of nutritional benefits from some of them that actually in a very good content. So now I will start first with my favorite jam. Now of course jam can be a variety of fruits, right? And that doesn't necessarily really matter as much. What matters is the amount of the sugar you will be getting per serving. And it is very important in order to make sense of serving to hold the serving constant when we are comparing two products. Otherwise, it won't be relevant. For example, if I'm going to compare 2, 3, 4 different jams together, I have to make sure that all of them, the 1 tablespoon is the amount of serving. That way, that means the amount of the sugar per tablespoon I'm comparing across those 4, right? So one of the best ones I found in my area, again, those products you might find in the same in your area. Some of those are either small companies or farm-owned or family-owned, so might not go far from my city. However, that doesn't mean you might not find those options or similar options in your city. So the goal of this video is to teach you how to look into the ingredient nutritional fact label and identify what are the ingredients you want to see, what are the percentage or amount of the sugars you want to see when you are picking your jam. So this is the husk-up berry. So it is a berry that is very high in antioxidant. It is similar or even stronger than blueberry when it comes. I'm not sure if you have it in your area, but the goal here is to look into the nutritional fact label, okay? So as I mentioned, it's very important to check the serving. As you can see, this is per tablespoon, okay? So calories are relevant because if you are tracking calories, then it doesn't matter if it's 20, 30, if it's fall within your kind of calorie intake, that's okay. But what matters here, the other ingredients where it comes to carbs. Of course, jams wouldn't have any lipid. Most of that is irrelevant. We are going to come into the fiber and sugar. Mostly when it comes to the jams, we want to look into the sugar because that's the main element that makes the difference between a healthy alternative and how much sugar you will be getting per tablespoon. As you can see, this has only 3 gram sugar per tablespoon. This is very, very low relative to many other jam products. And if you can now just check if you have jams in your home, usually an average is 7 gram and sometimes you might see up to 12 gram per tablespoon. So if I compare this to a product that has 12 gram sugar for 1 tablespoon, that means for the same quantity you're getting 4 times more sugar. Or you can have 4 tablespoons of this jam to equivalent of 1 tablespoon of the jam that has 12 grams of sugar, right? So this is something you want to look at first. Next, you want to go into your ingredients and check what are included within this product. So as we can read here, there is a husk-up berry, there is sugar, there is apple, water, pectin, and citric acid. Why this matters? First, you need to remember the beginning to end makes a difference. The ingredient with the highest quantity usually stated at the beginning of the ingredient. So that means seeing husk-up berry, the first stated ingredient, that means husk-up berry makes majority of the content or the majority percentage of the content of this jam. Second highest ingredient in this product is sugar, followed by apple, followed by water, followed by pectin and citric acid, which citric acid has very little quantity of it, right? So this is just so that you understand quantity-wise, proportion-wise, how much of each ingredient dominating vice the others that are insignificant in the same tablespoon. Okay, so this is important because definitely you prefer to find the sugar at least the second ingredient. That's the main reason why it has very low sugar, because this fruit comes tart, so it's almost have no sugar. It's high fibers. They cook it and they adding some sugar in order to sweeten, but that sugar is not too much. As you can see, majority is husk of berry, 3 grams is the sugar. Next, you want to check ingredients that are not necessarily hard to pronounce or you're not familiar with it, because the likelihood of being artificial or it might have side effect, not healthy, or spark other health issues is more likely if you cannot recognize an ingredient. That's another kind of rule for me to basically eliminate a product when I'm reading the ingredients and I'm not familiar. Sometimes I do Google search. Maybe I'm not familiar, but it's not necessarily artificial or synthetic. However, 99% of the time, if I cannot recognize the name or it is hard to pronounce, it's something man-made and it's not going to be very beneficial. So, ingredient-wise, here we have husk of berry, the first ingredient, which is great. Sugar, apple, water, pectin, citric acid are all kind of natural ingredient. Pectin, and again, if you don't know, is used to gelatinize and make that consistency, but it's coming usually from natural ingredient, not a harmful substance. Citric acid is basically citric acid. So those are all okay ingredients, none of them alarming. So we checked the ingredients are all good. We checked first coming the berry. We checked the sugar is relatively lower compared to other alternatives. And again, even I was shocked when I found this product, because 3 grams sugar per 1 tablespoon is relatively unheard of. Now let us take a look on spreads and how we want to choose our spreads. Again, these are good in order to alternate or basically shift the ones that are unhealthy, which you like it and it gives you that sweet flavor or crunchy flavor or nutty flavor, but not necessarily the best option. So for example, in my case, I personally love some chocolate spreads, but of course we know one of the most famous, like Nutella, has full of sugar, full of palm oil that can cause high inflammation and all that, right? So the best alternative is what I found, hazelnut spread. So if you're a chocolate lover, this might be a good alternative. However, again, not all hazelnut spread claims are necessarily good or they have a good ingredients. So in here, unlike the jam, we are going to look more of the fat content. Of course, the sugar content also, because it does give the sweetness. So first, let's take a look about the ingredients in the nutritional fact label. So I'm not sure if you can see here, but let me read it for you. So we have 1 gram saturated fat. Again, we are comparing with 1 tablespoon. Okay, so 1 gram saturated fat is way less than any other product you can find in a chocolate spread form that gives you only 1 gram saturated fat per tablespoon. We have 0 trans fat. This is the biggest acid, and then the main reason because it doesn't have any dairy product. If you add milk, it comes naturally, but that's a different story. We will discuss in a different module where sometimes animal-based product coming trans fat is not the same as the trans fat coming from hydrogenated product, that those frozen product that because of processing and ultra processing, they have been added those trans fats, so they are different, right? However, for the context of this video, we are looking for the spread is 0 gram trans fat, 1 gram saturated fat, and only 5 gram sugar. Again, for having a nice chocolatey flavor spread and consistency, by the way, this one is so good. It is amazing to have 1 gram saturated fat and 5 gram sugar as an alternative to, let's say, Nutella or Cadbury, that still quench your sweet tooth, but without harming your health or bringing unnecessary calories or unhealthy ingredients that increase the inflammation in your body. So now one other thing here, because it's a nut base, it gives you 2 gram protein. It might sound little, but if you adding here and there 2, 3, 4, you can easily add additional 10 gram protein in your daily intake. So that's been checked that the sugar is low, the fat content is amazing. Now let's look into your ingredients. So here we can see, let me show you the ingredients. Okay, let me see, it's sometimes taken out of focus. Here we go. So you can see we have hazelnuts being the first ingredient. Again, amazing, because that majority of the content is hazelnut and nothing else. The second ingredient is sugar, like the jam. Of course, it's going to give the sweetness. However, since we know 5 gram sugar per tablespoon still is okay. Cocoa, again, natural ingredient, which gives the chocolate flavor. Vanilla, another natural ingredient, and salt. So as you may see, this is beyond good when it comes to ingredients, because there is not a single ingredient I cannot identify or find a natural source of it. Okay, so hazelnut, sugar, cocoa, vanilla, salt. Another trick is the less the ingredients, the better the product will be. So both the Haskell berry and the hazelnut spread have only 5 ingredients in their list. That's also a good call. Now, one thing with spreads, you need to be careful if you find seed oils. Some of them do have in order to make the texture better, they might add sunflower oil, canola oil, and other flaxseed even oil inside the ingredients, or inside the content. So make sure you don't have any of that, because even if it shows 1-2 gram in the saturated fat, but any amount of seed oils are no good. They are high in omega-6. They will disproportionate the ratio of omega-3, and that will increase your C-reactive protein, which is the blood marker for inflammation. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now let's go another nut butter, and this is a combination of 12 nut butters, which I also love it very much, and it's just good for breakfast on a whole grain. So this is the one. Again, these products might be in your city or might not, depending how wide they distribute. But let's look into the nutritional fact label first. So as you can see, I'm trying to focus this one. So as you can see, so we have 8 gram fat, out of which only 1 gram is saturated. What does that mean? Because consists of 12 different nuts, there will be a lot of unsaturated fats there, which is a good fat, okay, PUFAs. Then we have 0 gram trans fat, which is great. Then we have 1 gram sugar. So unlike the hazelnut spread, this has 1 gram, hazelnut had 5 gram. And again, we are comparing the 1 tablespoon, okay? Now both are good to me. Why? Because the purpose of the hazelnut spread to replace a chocolate spread that is way worse, and 5 grams still reasonably way low than, again, 20 grams of Nutella, let's say, okay? Next is this one has 3 gram protein and 1 gram fiber. So this spread is actually very, very good, because it not only have 1 gram sugar and 1 gram saturated fat, but it brings again another 3 gram protein. So if I had 1 tablespoon of this, 1 tablespoon of chocolate throughout the day, I got like easily 5 gram of protein without me actually going into protein source. These are not considered protein source. They are more healthy fat, I would consider, or things to quench your sweet tooth, or alternatives of, again, chocolate spread or something like that, okay? So the other thing has 100 milligram potassium, right? So nutritional facts we can see is amazing. Okay, now let's go into your ingredients. So here are the ingredients. Now this has more than 5 ingredients, but it's logical, right? Sometimes you need to use your rationale too, because if you are buying something that calls a mixture of 12 nuts, you will expect minimum 12 ingredients, right? So when I'm saying keep 5 ingredients or less, or 6 ingredients, this is when you are buying one item like hazelnut spread, huskberry jam, right? So, or peanut butter. So, but when I'm intentionally buying something mentioning 12 nuts, that's okay. I'm expecting to see this many ingredients in it. So in here, but what matters again, to see the raw ingredients. So as we can see, dry roasted almonds, cashews, pecans, sunflower seeds. Now here we go. Sunflower seeds, not sunflower oil. It makes a difference because the oil being processed in a cold processing pressure machine in order to extract the oil. So that's way more concentrated. That is like 1-2 drop of sunflower oil is equivalent of maybe 20 sunflower seeds, right? So you need to bear that in mind. It's similar to the juices. 1 cup of orange juice, it doesn't equivalent to 1 orange. It may equivalent to 2-3 oranges, right? Keep that in mind. So it's okay to see seeds of whole crushed, but not the oil. Walnuts, chia seeds, pistachio, hemp seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, and Brazilian nuts. So nothing else at all. As you can see, all they did is they just made butter using and mashing all these ingredients. This is something even you can do at home if you buy and the raw ingredient, roast them and use your processor to make a paste. So that's why this product also amazing for nut spread if you like nut spread. And lastly, I will speak a bit about like the most popular and most common used nut peanut butter. Now, Kraft probably been in your head. That's the worst peanut butter you can have, just because read the ingredient and you will see some of the oils they use in order to homogenize and make it more kind of a better texture for spreading on the bread, but it's not good quality. So when it comes to peanut butter, you want to make sure the only ingredient in it is peanut butter bread, because you can even buy your own peanut butter and again use the processor to use it yourself. Now, one of this, my favorite is this one, the organic peanut butter. This is very popular brand, especially in Canada. You can pretty much find in any store across Canada. So if you're from Canada, it's very easy to find it. But maybe there are similar product or even this one in some of the US cities. So the good thing about this is, again, one ingredient only inside ingredient, which is dry roasted organic peanuts. So you can see, so literally one ingredient only, and this is why it is already gonna say to me, even without reading the nutrition fact label, I already know it's gonna be the best option when it comes to peanut, because there is nothing else than that. So this gives 4 grams of protein, 1 gram sugar, which is naturally exists in peanuts, and 1 gram fiber and 1 gram saturated fat. So as you can see, peanut butter has more protein, of course, compared to 12 nuts butter, just because again it's more concentrated than seeds, and this is a great option again to have because it is limited processing and there is no oil added. Now, this all spreads, nut butter and jams I shared today, those 4 examples, not necessarily for you to go and buy these exact ones. No, the purpose of this video was to educate you how to make choices out of so many choices that you have it there. And usually going into the small like a family owned, farm owned, or product that produced in small batches and probably will only find within your neighborhood, more likely it will use less processed ingredient, because producing massive or in big bulk to supply the high demand of, let's say, 1 million or 2 million people buys a couple of thousand, definitely requires some ingredients that are not necessarily good for your health. So hopefully you find this video helpful, and now when you go and buy your spread, jam or nut butter, you are more aware and educated about how to read your ingredient list, your nutrition fact label, and make smarter decisions and smarter choices.